All right, ladies and gents, we are here with Justin. It is Carrot Crunch Friday. Friday is my favorite day of the week because the anticipation of stuff is always better than the stuff itself, as we know. So yeah, that's why I love Fridays, I think. How you doing
All
today,
right,
Justin?
ladies
Ladies
and
and gents, we are here with Justin.
doing well. Here early, ready to get back to studying and looking at hands again.
Yeah, so I thought what we would do today is go over some hands I played this morning because I felt quite sharp and I was just kind of enjoying. I don't know, I have two poker modes. I have like a mode where I'm like, I hope I win, and then I have a mode where I'm like just like really relaxed and fascinated about the game. I don't know if you've experienced something similar, but today I was in the second one.
Was that the good one?
Yeah, yeah,
That was the relax. Yeah, I think it kind of goes back and forth. Maybe not quite a binary two mode thing, but sometimes you just really feel more attached to the results for whatever reason.
yeah. Some I think it's down to like willpower, vulnerability, tiredness, like energy levels. A lot of this stuff. I think like the more you've had a bad sleep, or it's like the end of the day, or you've just eaten a big meal, like the more likely you are to like give way to the lizard brain yearnings of results, as it were.
And even within session, it feels like that can really vary.
Hmm.
Sometimes it just takes a couple spots to snap you out of that.
Absolutely. Yep. We have six people here, so hopefully we can get a few more. Right.
I'll
So
come in.
let's talk some hands. So played this morning for a little bit, just two tabling, kind of focusing. Defend ace three here from the big blind against the reg. UTGs is 200 Russian cash. Six of spades turn, so just rolled here between, like, I don't know, like my normal toolkit for paired turns when I'm probing is like around pot. These days, like I'm kind of building the new course right now that's going to be out in November, and I'm like finding what I want the toolkit to be, and then sort of guiding people down a streamlined path so that they only have to study those things and making a game plan for them. That's the idea. So like here, the six is kind of irrelevant. Not irrelevant fully, but it's quite irrelevant against under the gun for two reasons. One, they're not going to have a lot of 6x, and two, they're going to bet a lot of 6x from that position on flop. So I thought here I could play an overbet if I wanted, but to be honest, I was probably rolling between like pot and check. Any thoughts?
Uh, I used to go smaller too, but I think probably 2x pot, 2.5x is good here.
Yep.
They just don't have trips often enough for me to care about. It's probably, I don't know, 2, 3, 4% of range.
Yep. And we have a lot of 6x. We have a big monopoly on that, and we're building mainly around like 6x when we do that. I guess you could have like ace queen, king queen, 6x plus, and then bluffs.
Yeah, the six funnily kind of kills any other real value bet prospects we have. We can maybe queen jack, maybe ace queen
Yeah.
feels about us then.
Yeah, if we're going 2x spot for sure. Yeah, maybe king queen's just too thin. So this was an interesting node. I thought definitely raise is going to be high frequency here. Call, I guess it's probably a thing in theory, though I'd rather call like ace nine or ace 10 or something here of spades. So I was kind of leaning raise here. I was also leaning raise in reality as well because I'm not sure how good people are at checking back like king queen plus on the flop, and they're not going to have a lot of six. So this to me could be a very overbluff node, I think. Any thoughts?
Definitely don't have a problem with raise. All our ace X does chop, so that's something, I guess. But even if it
Well, that's
didn't, I
that's just a
think
complete
this hand could probably
refutation of
call.
my idiocy. Yeah, good.
But even in the world where this was Queen Jack six deuce,
Mm,
probably this hand is fine to call, I think,
yeah,
just because it's got some robustness against bluffs and then
yeah,
not flush draw.
yeah. I guess
I'm
ace
really
king
guilty
beats
of
us, but
really
that's it.
attacking these spots, but I think it works pretty well in practice.
Yeah, I think so. And
Fine.
it's not really a spot where we're going to be perceived to be over bluffing because first you have to check the draw and then find the raise with it. I think it's almost more intuitive to find a check raise with a six here than it is with a draw for a lot of people, because with a six, you might be like, how do I get max value? Like, what could I do? And with a draw, you're kind of like, I hope I win the pot. So if you're like not thinking here, you're not being careful, you can easily end up just like under bluffing with this line here.
Hmm.
I did roll
I'm
this.
so cautious of trying to interpret these spots because I feel like as you go farther down the check check passive lines, people are gonna interpret them so differently. So I'm really not sure. But
That's true.
I mean, I don't have a problem with raise or anything. It looks fine, and big looks good.
Yep. So we are building around 6x, and therefore we pick a sizing that 6x is going to use. We could even go bigger here, I think.
Yeah, I guess you could go bigger. This looks fine.
The villain kind of outs themselves as a fish. If I knew a reg was 3xing, for whatever reason, I wouldn't go this big. I would go like 8.2 or something like that. But against the fish, I like just putting a bit more money in the pot with aces. And a donk half pot.
Yep. I think I just call. I don't know.
Yeah. I didn't really see anything else. Like raise just feels really silly. Like we can it's one of these spots where like if the run out's gonna be good, we'll find out by calling anyway, and we can value bet later and we can find out what they have. So I actually think raise is a big mistake here because we give up on future transparency, both pertaining to run out and line of villain. And I think those two things are very important here.
Yeah, unless I really knew something about villain, I probably wouldn't raise ever.
Yeah.
If they're really punty, then maybe.
Our hand just isn't that good. I don't know, there's just a lot of ways to like have less equity than you think here. This hand on this board. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
for sure. You would need a really wild fish.
yeah. This is an interesting node.
Yeah.
Torn
I don't know.
between a
I
small
think
raise and call.
I think I would just raise. I don't anticipate we're gonna get that many folds if we raise, so I would just do that. Not on this kind of texture.
What do you
The
think
block
of
is interesting because maybe King Jack King Queen are gonna play like this, but they're probably not gonna invest a ton more money anyway, so I don't think it really makes a difference. If they have two pair or something, we just want them to stack off earlier rather than later.
mm,
That's my
so
take on the spot.
so
They
yeah,
could be totally spewing, but
yeah, yeah, I don't know. I think I think it's close. I think on the one hand, there are some worlds where they are just spewing with like some merge and they fold to a jam, but like for some reason they like check call the river or shove the river or something with the merge. Like I think that's a thing at some frequency. I do agree though that I don't think they're folding that often if we raise turn. And then there could be some hand like a combo draw, like the 8-7 of hearts or something that like we just really want to raise turn against. Um, so probably if I'm being honest, I prefer raise a little bit better now. But with a total unknown, there's just always the chance that they're just losing their shit with fives or something, and there aren't that many rivers that are going to kill action. There are some, but like we're just talking like a queen of jack really at this SPR, maybe a heart, but I don't know. I don't think it's going to like massively kill action. Like if villain has two pair, I'm not sure the five of hearts is going to cause us to no longer stack him, basically. So I think we're just looking at like the queen and jack as major action killers here. Did go for call.
yeah,
I think it's
and
close.
we might stack off on those anyway, also.
Mm-hmm.
But those kind of hands are interesting because I'm not sure how they're going to play on one of those Queen or Jack rivers if we're actually going to make any additional money. I assume it'll probably just go check, and I don't know. I might bet the river if they check to me, but
Yeah, yeah, I think it's that side of the game tree. Sorry, I'm gonna have to go grab the door. Have a look at this spot though. So we go check. We donks here. We raise and we get this turn spot. I'll be right back.
fun. So we went 2.5 pre, I think. Donk raise call. I'll wait for Pete to get back and then I guess give him my verdict. But what do we think? That big kind of seems like an overplay, but maybe isn't ridiculous. I think in game I would probably just check this, but looking at the spot now, I kind of understand small bet maybe being an idea and potentially working well. Yeah, B50 might be all right. If we want a full vacuum play this spot, which we probably should versus the fish, you could go smaller, like B40. Yeah, if they raise versus our bet, we can't really do anything but fold, I don't think, but we don't have to worry a ton about that. Now people are rolling in. Good afternoon, good morning. How's everyone's day been? I take it it's day for y'all. Probably no one else is crazy enough to be up at my hour. Yeah, I could definitely also talk about the flop raise versus call. I think there's a lot of merit in just calling flop, but versus 1BB, it's kind of like we're playing against a check. So I think it is okay. It is 4:15 a.m., but he only streams in my mornings, it feels like, and I want to be here. Yeah, if anyone else wants to come on in, we take guests. It's nice to get a crew for Fridays. I think the stream link's posted in the Discord.
Oh man, had to lift like big giant heavy sheets of rubber for this roofing thing we've got going on. Oh my god.
You made it back. You good?
Oh, horrible. Almost killed me. Anyway, what do we think of this?
Yeah, we raised flop, which fine, I guess. I'm kind of interested in betting turn, but we don't have that much equity is kind of what I'm worried about.
Yeah,
So
I felt the same way.
I can see B40, B50.
Yeah, we're also reopening though when we do that, which isn't ideal with this hand.
Yeah, but I think if we get raised, we're pretty often just dead and don't have that much equity
Sure,
anyway. I don't think it's that bad.
sure.
These are Pete's hands. Are they from today?
Yep. Oh man, that was hard. Fucking awful thing to have to do it like unexpectedly. The body like suddenly being stressed beyond belief after no warm up, just suddenly at like 9 in the morning. Not good. Fucking dying, man.
So do we check the river or we
No, we just
did
checked.
something funny?
No, no, no.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah, saved a bit of monies on this one. What about small bet on turn? Yeah, it's definitely reasonable. I assume you mean turn.
I think you could maybe bet like tiny on the river, but that seems just not great,
Yeah.
even versus a fish.
Yep.
Oh, we called.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think this is just some call frequency. It's not pure, is it? I don't know. Depends on the
Probably
sim.
depends. Probably depends what you're doing versus min. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's either way.
So call flop, probably.
Yeah. For what it's worth, I think you can raise here. This is something I'm actually looking into right now. So I'm gonna show you guys in GT Wizard like one of the things that's gonna be in this new course that's coming out in the autumn.
When
Um,
was the call in the new course? Is this something you're planning for a while, or it just
um,
came?
the ideas have been brewing, but the sort of conviction to just go ahead and go all in with it has probably been here for about 2-3 weeks now. But once I commit to something like this, I generally do it, so it's gonna happen.
Oh,
Let's
it's a
just look
pure
at this.
call.
In this sim, yeah, I mean, this is a Russian cash sim where the 3-bet pots are rated worse and it doesn't like playing big pots in general.
Yeah,
It's because of rate
disincentivizes
cap.
three bets, right? Yeah.
Yep. But yeah, I think 3-bet's fine. And against the fish, I would just always 3-bet for what it's worth.
Yeah, I think if you're gonna play smaller raises on flop, ace ten is good
Yep.
with the backdoor. And if the opener is very earlier, then you can probably even start hybrid raising this.
Yep.
And at these positions, it probably works fine-ish as long as you don't start potting it
Yep.
with ace ten. But might not even be that bad actually.
I'm gonna lock them to range bet.
Yeah, fine. I think I'd range bet this. I don't think there's any loss.
I play 2x pot. It's my
I
new
overbet
thing.
the I overbet the two tones. Yeah, you can bet big here if you want.
Yep. So the raise size we're advocating in the course that we're studying a ton and doing a load of work on flop and turn play for, because it's been really quite counterintuitive, is something like this, like 40%, 45%.
Yeah.
So once you do that, it's kind of going to open the door to, do we do this in cash injection? Yeah, well, we look at slightly smaller raises, but we don't build an entire game plan of how to do it on loads of different flops or look at it on turns and stuff when called. We're really just looking at like the flop exploit. And the new course isn't so exploitative. There will be lots of opportunities to recommend exploitative lines in that course, but it will be theoretical mostly, but kind of like theoretical in the sense that we're building the toolkit that's a bit non-standard but fine, and then we're building the theory around that. That's the thinking. Oh man, I'm struggling to breathe after that. That was like really bad. So Ace 10. Yeah, just mixing in the
So
spot.
we get to raise 15% when we go the smaller size. Did you recall what it was when we went just the
It was
recommended
like
the bigger
eight
size?
percent or something, I think.
8, okay.
hmm Somewhere around there, I think.
Decent bit more.
It wasn't so much F the solver, Stephanie. It was more like I didn't like GTO Wizard initially because before it, if to be totally frank with you, if GTO Wizard didn't have this node lock, build your own custom tree mode, I would never use it. I wouldn't even subscribe. I would never use a base GTO Wizard sim because it's garbage. I would never use it. In my opinion, it's garbage because you have so many sizes on so many nodes that the tree departs very quickly from anything that anybody would be playing. So you get into like a lot of very weird spots where the sizing that happened in the hand, you click it and it was like a 3% choice because there was a sizing that was slightly bigger and one that was slightly smaller as well. And then you're on some weird river node where like a very bizarre collection of hands were meant to pick that. It's not applicable theory at all in many spots. So personally, I can't stand a tree with 5 sizes and I would never use that.
I think by the time you get to River, yeah, there's a lot of divergence.
But
I had
also,
Wizard before Ruse, but if you look at the flop defense, even to a size that gets used 35% of the time, it's pretty good.
mhm,
But since Ruse came out, it's just offered so much more, and you
yeah,
can starting to become more of a powerful actual tool, not just a database.
exactly. But then again, I had like Pio Sims and stuff, so why would I use a wizard sim with 5 sizes when I've already got custom built Pio Sim with like 1 size? But now I can do that in
If you
two
have them,
seconds. Exactly. So that's another reason. So
yeah.
I'm not saying that like no one should get like if all you can budget for is the base version of Wizard, it's better than nothing. Like you do need to have some kind of solver at some stage, but like compared with a custom tree, it's just trash. Like it's just nowhere near as good.
Yeah, I think before Wizard I had GTO Plus and I ran
Eh.
some Sims there just because the cheapest thing is when I was getting into the game.
Yeah, it looked horrendous.
And that was fine, but when you have to run Sims yourself, the building everything you want to do takes a while.
Yep.
Okay, we called after all this discussion.
We rolled. We rolled.
Got it.
Turn
Hmm.
seems like we'd be leading a lot here after range bet. Maybe not a lot, but like a decent amount after flop goes range bet call. I think villain wants to check back 80-ish%, 75%-ish on this card if we don't lead. Or if we don't play leads. That'd be my guess. But we can take a look. What's your prediction?
I don't think it's that stark when they go for the smaller see bet size. So they gone
Mm,
bigger, definitely.
hmm Yeah, for sure. So the bigger they go, the less 10x they have, the more 10x you have. Basically, 10x becomes more unequal after a bigger flop C bet for those reasons. Yep.
Yeah, I think it's really size sensitive. I think even for the small size, there's probably still some lead, but I don't think it's too much,
hmm
actually. I could be wrong.
Yeah, not too much. If we check, their check back frequency is what, like 50? Okay, they're betting this turn more than I thought. I feel like humans aren't going to bet this turn enough. Like, I feel like they're just going to like check back too many of like these hands. So I actually like the lead as a pure play in reality here.
Do you think they're gonna? You say they're checking back a lot. Is that just both with value and bluffs, or like a king and bluffs? Or
Yeah, both with like King 9, I think is checking more than this for sure. And I think like
yeah,
Ace 4 is not getting found this often. Just as two like stark examples that jump out at me.
yeah, I think that makes sense looking at this response. There's some weird stuff going on with the king selection. King, queen, king, jack aren't betting, but king nine is
Yeah.
betting more often. Yeah, but anyway, I think this makes sense.
I guess like you get called by Queen Jack or something, so you want to like when you unblock it and the kicker's similar, you go for the value bet, but I don't think it matters much.
Probably also ace, queen, ace, jack. But yeah, those cards.
Yeah. Because Queen Jack will actually raise you sometimes on turn or quite a lot on turn, so maybe it's more about Ace Queen Ace Jack than Queen Jack. Villain calls, we get the Jack of Spades River. This was a reg.
Wow, I'm pretty sure I played a hand with the same exact run out where I donked a turn
Nice.
recently.
So what do you
Oh,
think
okay.
about River?
I'm trying to evaluate how much equity we have,
Hmm.
and I think it's okay. I don't think it's amazing.
Hmm.
I think we could, well, I think you could potentially overbet, but that's kind of pushing it. Probably 75%-ish looks good to me. Could we ever check? I don't think it's going to do that well, so I would just bet something.
So my thoughts here are that we're kind of in a block or check spot for the most part on this card because villain has, well, a bunch of like uncapped nutty making stuff now, like Jack 6 Queen, Queen 9,
Yep.
etc. And if we block, a human might not raise enough, so maybe it's not that great against the human. It depends on the stake and the player. But certainly in theory, I thought block was like the main option for most of the hands that we're betting here, just based on like what I've seen with that size down pattern on these cards. Maybe here on this particular node, villain is just a bit more King X heavy, and we just have like, and the 10 is doing really well. But I don't know. I think like against a fish, I'm betting bigger here. But against a reg, I'm probably going to stick to the default game plan because I do trust the reg here at 200 Russian cash for the most part to be able to be like, I don't like calling, I'm getting milked, I have Queen Jack, I raise, and actually overdo the raise here. I could see this getting overbluffed, basically. So I went for block here, just planning to block call.
Yeah. Okay. I think you're right. I just missed this a little bit, but yeah, there might be some like B60 for this exact hand or something, but
Let's see.
you definitely can't go too big because they hit a bunch of ace queen, they hit jacks.
Yep. Mainly, so I gave it 33.75 and 150. It's never overbetting any combo, which I think is super instructive because if you look at the ranges at the top here, when that's the case, that nut advantage for button, they're just supposed to do a lot of raise, and that comes in the form of value raises and bluffs, and therefore, like, even if like there's a king that would have called a B75, sometimes like you make back that money by running into a bluff or running into a hand that would call B33 but not B75. So it's easy in these spots, I think, to just focus on villain having a king, and like this is why I have such a big problem with targeting, because as soon as you say I'm gonna bet to target a king, it's like, yeah, but what about the rest of the game tree? Like there's a whole complex, wonderful game tree here happening on this card. It's a really dynamic card. There's a lot of shit going on. You can't just base your whole line around like the times villain has a king, unless they're a passive fish, in which case you kind of can. But like otherwise, you should be thinking a bit more about the polarization of the opponent here, I think.
Yeah, and if you start betting big with your good hands in these spots like this, you can just get destroyed.
Yep. Yep.
But yeah, this is a good hand because it woke me up. All right, I should have gotten this right.
I mean, what time is it there?
It's too early.
Go on,
It's
tell us.
4:30.
Yeah, so 4:30 in the morning. I think you're being a little harsh on yourself. At 4:30 in the morning, I was wishing the fucking dog from the kennel. There's a neighbors opened up kennels, and now there's like 15 dogs in there, and it depends on the dogs, like by the week, what kind of experience we have. But this week there's this one damn dog in his kennels that just barks all night, and he is a moron, and I hate him, and I want to really do something about it, but I don't know what I can do because I guess they're allowed to have a kennels if they want to. They don't even ask us though or anything. They're just like, oh, by the way, 12 dogs. Oh, what's that? What's that? You're trying to, yeah, 12 dogs. You're trying to sleep 12 dogs. One's an asshole. So yeah.
I was curious how much equity we had in river with ace 10. It's probably 70
Uh,
something, like low 70s.
we had, we actually check our hand a lot on river, by the way, ace 10 specifically. Equity view.
Interesting. They check back ace jack ace king, I guess.
Yeah. 83.
It's cut. Okay, it's a little more than I thought, but not a huge hand or anything, of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah. 83 by the time you've overbet isn't too hot.
No, you can't
I
for
used to
that.
overbet
But
that spot.
83 is enough for a B75 in
It's enough for
most
B75.
scenarios.
Yeah, it's enough for B75 unless you're in a world where you just make it back in other ways or make it back better in other ways by blocking. So that's why it's so important to assess how passive or aggressive the opponent actually is there. Can we understand and comprehend a narrower range against humans by river given our betting line here? It's not that narrow a range, but yeah, like it's going to be mostly showdown driven. They're gonna have a mix of different stuff within that, but yeah, they're gonna land with like pocket pairs, 8x, ace jack, ace queen, jacks, king x. Like there's a lot of different hand segments in that, but the overarching theme, it's best not to try and like map out the whole range. The overarching theme there, Stu Undergarments, is that the range is polarized, right? Like it's polarized-ish compared to on a 5 river where it's incredibly condensed. So the problem people have with poker is that they're unable to think gradably. In fact, this is not a problem specific to poker, this is a problem specific to life. That when you say to a student, so they're a bit more polarized here, the student's like, they're not polarized, you've got a king! And you're like, yeah, but they're more polarized than on a 4. Do you agree with that? And they're like, yeah. So then you're like, so really polarization has to be on a spectrum, right? So on the rivers that make them more polar than they would be on a brick, we size down, and on a brick we size up because we're not getting raised as much, they're more capped, they don't have an incentive to bluff as much, that sort of thing.
Yeah. I think a good way I go about understanding it is I just try to expect how much I'm going to get attacked. And in a spot like that, you should expect to be getting attacked a lot because they just make a lot of strong hands.
Unless you're against the fish, who's just going to be like, I has king, and then you can just like pot it or something, like fine.
Yeah.
The fish also raised a 10 on the turn, like way too often as well, probably.
We are very deep. Okay.
We are very deep, and that's gonna be
Not very deep.
in
200
just a
deep.
second. All right, so our toolkit in the new course that's coming out in October. If you buy that, no, November. If you buy that course, you are going to become the pots the flop.
Pots it.
Yes, you know it. So I like this line. This line is like, it's very meta. It's very like 2025. It's very on vogue at the moment, and for good reason. It's extremely hard to deal with. When you're deep, and your opponent doesn't make many sets on a board like this, because they don't really have deuces, and like they don't have 5s pure, you want to consider this. And the thing is, guys, I'm not saying in this course, do this sometimes on this board, or like it's one of your sizes. I'm saying this is your size. And in doing so, we're going to streamline the game tree so that you get really good at knowing how to pot the flop and then play the turn and river thereafter at low SPR. And your opponents have no idea what's going on because they've never studied this. And why would they? They don't see it enough yet. And checking back and being an aficionado of like delayed c-betting and facing turn probe and 3-bet pot. So by potting the flop, the premise of the course is you're going to just get really, really good at the nodes that you go into, and your opponents won't. And then, like, after you've done that course, it's going to be a humongous course, by the way. I'm talking CPS levels of humongous. You're going to feel, like, armed to the teeth, like you know exactly what is going on, and you're playing your game plan as a carroteer, and they're not. And you're going to feel like a badass, the most badass reg. So that's the idea. Can we sell this course to you by saying you're going to be a badass reg? I think that's some pretty good marketing, Justin. What do you think?
A lot of people want to be that.
Yeah. It's all about making them into what they want to be, right? It's not actually about, like, the objective thing. It's about them. It's about the fucking consumer, man. You guys are going to be like, I'm talking blowing smoke in your opponent's face every hand kind of shit here.
But also objectively, if we're just talking about flop sizes, it's hard to make a big mistake with any given single size strategy you pick.
Yep.
So pot here, I would have to imagine is pretty reasonable. From what I understand about 200 big blind 3-bet pots, we do often need to be a bit more careful just because our overpairs aren't trying to stack off as often. On this board, they might be fine too.
Yeah, it'll depend on
So
how
I think
it runs
pot here
out.
is good.
So what I like to say here
But
is
out of position in particular has to play really passively at 200 big blinds 3-bet pot, but I think in position probably still gets to go for it. And this hand seems great to bet.
Yeah, so Spuds, you can do what you want to a larger extent than the solver police of like 2022 had you believe when they were like, this is a small bet board. This is a B50 board. This is a bad strategy to pot the flop. The solver doesn't prefer it. They misled you. They lied to you and they misinformed you. And that's why You need a course with good lines that aren't taken. God, I'm just a walking advert. I haven't even fucking made the course yet. Chill on the marketing, Pete. But I agree with everything you said, yeah. I like to ask myself, on how many runouts will my investment ceiling be lots? And if the answer is like a good amount of runouts, then I want to size up on. I want to build a toolkit that sizes up earlier. Generally. Was that an Ohio accent, Stephanie? I don't know, like, the difference. I don't really know what accents I'm doing. I do random, like, semi-pseudo-American accents, and people tell me, oh, that's Mississippi. Oh, that's Kansas. Is that the same place? Is Kansas in Mississippi? I don't know.
I could kind of see it being Ohio, but I couldn't really pinpoint it.
Solver doesn't like this sizing. It prefers bigger. I don't know what that is. I think it's like some kind of middle management advertising executive or something. Okay. What? Okay. I was like, please say I didn't call this.
Well played.
Thanks, man. See?
Those spots can be tricky for people if you haven't studied them, though, because defending versus an under the gun c-bet is very different.
I've seen this exact region of range get completely butchered because people don't understand EQR. So EQR is like how well your hand converts equity into EV. It's kind of like if you put gasoline in your car, how efficient is it at converting that into miles? Like, that's how I like to think of equity into EV. EQR is like the car's ability to burn the fuel efficiently, right? So the thing with Ace 10 is, like, against the small c-bet, it will have like some amount of equity. But a lot of that equity, ladies and gentlemen, comes in the form of Grinders Manual, circa 2016. Drum roll, please. Ghost equity. Ghost equity, man. And ghost equity is equity that you don't ever realize. So villain has Queen Jack and you have Ace 10 and you call the flop c-bet. Who do you think is going to win there? Yeah, not you, usually. Them. So that's ghost equity for you.
Yeah. The game was all about equity. You probably wouldn't fold anything to a mid-open.
And you wouldn't really fold much on the flop either. You'd only fold, like, I don't know, 8-4 diamonds here. It'd be a very boring game if it was just about equity. If it was face up, like your hand is face up, then it would all be about equity. Because there'd be no implied odds. There'd be no fold equity. Other than, like, times you should fold. It would just literally be equity. Face up Hold'em. The future of no limit Hold'em. No, maybe not.
It'll last for about as long as short deck.
Short deck was a horrible game. Do you know what one of the worst days of my life was? When PokerStars said, Pete, we want you to write an article about... No, I want you to write 3 articles about short deck. And I was like, what? What's this? Oh, this is cool. This is a cool game. Let me go play a bit of it so I can write 3 articles. This is horrible. This is a horrible experience. Now I have to go and write 3 articles. Worst day of my life.
I'm sorry I brought that up.
Yeah. Phantom equity seems like a better phrase. Come on, man. Come on, man. Okay, guys, I'm going to do random American voices. You tell me who they are, because I don't know who they are. Come on, man. I think that's Joe Biden, maybe. I'm playing R1. R1BB. I like 1BB. So if you do the new course, you'll basically be either playing 2x pot on the flop or 1BB. That'd be it. You're never in a game tree where you've taken a conventional flop size, so your opponents are never comfortable. Who's excited by this, guys? You as excited as me? Are you excited, Justin? You gonna get the new course at the huge Sensei discount?
I'm trying to think about... I mean, what do you do on, like, something middle flops?
Give me an example.
Jack 9-7.
Split
Rainbow.
1BB. Split 1BB. They will raise off their good stuff. And then we'll kill them.
And then I guess anything more, like, big, just 2 high cards, you're probably going to X-pot.
2x pot. Oh, of course, there are
Yeah,
boards like
maybe it fits.
Ace 7-3, Ace 4, King 9 that we just never ever go big on. But you guys will learn that in the course. If you don't know that already, you don't deserve to play the game. But you'll also learn it in the course.
It's funny because you're mentioning unconventional sizing, and I do see some regs trying to half pot paired boards and ace high board stuff. No, I don't really know what's happening.
It's funny, yeah. Short deck serves the same purpose as PLO double board bomb pots. exploiting the recreationals because they don't adjust the value thresholds. Yeah, but what a boring way to do it. Is Hungry Horse wearing a peat mask? Raise after good stuff!
Is it pretty defensible to range that for one or what? I haven't looked at it.
I don't know. Maybe. Maybe not. If we can't range it for one, we'll split for one. We haven't got there yet. I'm not building that part of the course yet,
Yeah.
but it'll be one of those two bags, and one of them will be fine, if not both. Right. I
Yeah.
got cold called here.
Oh, I thought the hand was over.
Nope. Did cold calls.
Gotta play.
So went B10. I think you can check. I think you can B10. I don't really care. And check. And your action chat. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Don't forget to use code Pete. That's not a thing. Yes, this is Justin Guests. What's his name? Anyone got an opinion here? You guys potting? Half potting? 2x potting? All in as a bluff to target ace X? 2 big blinds to target jacks and tens? 4 big blinds to target jacks and tens? Check. To
But
target...
we're only allowed to bet 1 big blind or 2x pot.
No, the toolkit doesn't.
Those both seem kind of reasonable here.
Yeah, they do, don't they? I think this is either like, I go very big and try and make you fold an ace, or I go very small and try and get called by jacks or tens. If you bet half pot here, guys, you failed so badly at poker that you should literally leave the stream. You should leave. 2.5 big blinds is clean. I agree, my guy. I agree. Guy tanked. And you know what the worst part is here? He paid a time chip.
Is that going to you?
He gave a big blind away. I get a fifth of it. He gave a big blind to the table to decide whether to call 2.5 big blinds and then folded.
That's fine.
I love it.
Yeah,
Oh, baby,
1 DB on the
hello.
river for time bank confusion.
Everything you do at the poker table
10%
conveys
is-
information.
Okay.
Pockets no man's. What site is it where you give away a chip? GG, of course. Give us a chip. No, it doesn't go to them, it goes to everyone else, but it goes to them really because they speed up the game and get more rake. You see? It's always a business decision at GG Poker. Always. It's a relatively old GG thing now. It's been around for about a month. So I'm going, when you guys will be too, if you get the new course, you'll be going this sizing on boards like this, where you're not going pot. So in 3-bit pots, you're either going pot or you're going tiny. Again, the ethos of the course is you're in a big sizing spot or a tiny sizing spot on flop. That's kind of the idea. Everything's extreme. This one is tiny. Your action on the turn. By the way, guys, if you're against a fish that's passive here, don't do this. Just make size up as an exploit with this hand to the stack depth, please, for the love of God. This was a reg, though. Okay, turn, deuce of diamonds. What are we doing?
I would probably check this a lot. But
Why?
that's just usually what sets are supposed to do in 3-bit pots on the turn out of position. They tend to trap well. We are deeper, so the line gets a bit trickier if we don't face a bet, but we don't block a bunch of stuff that can bluff. An ace can bet. We have a spade.
I don't really care about the spade so much.
Not a big deal.
In this spot, because, well, when do I care about the spade? I care about the spade more when I have a hand like ace queen with the queen of spades, and then I care about the quality of the queen out on the river or something, I guess.
Well,
But
it matters here because we can't get called by 8, 7, 9, 8 of spades, right?
yeah,
If we go big.
yeah, so it makes checking
That's the main
better.
difference.
Yeah, good point. I missed that. So then we either check or we overbet, I think. I think that's what we're left with then. And
Looks good.
check has the potential exploitative problem of people being terrified deep, not bluffing enough, not reopening an ace enough, that sort of thing. So I was a little bit scared to check here, truth be told. But maybe I'm just overstating a read that's not really a big thing against the reg. I think that flag matters here, like population read, stake. I think the lower you play, the less good it is to check the spot. And the higher you play, probably people are attacking more, reopening more. I just think people get very like cagey in the spot at lower stakes at 25 NL, 10 NL, etc. So I went for overbet and I actually didn't roll this one. I think I could go a slightly bigger overbet, but I also do think check is fine. Yeah.
I also think when you go, I go 20% on this board too. And when you go 20%, villain's gonna have more stuff to bluff with because they just continue wider and flop. They can bluff, they can overbluff without realizing it
Yep. Yep.
when you
Like
go
they have a lot of
smaller
king,
than they
queen, king,
tend to
jack,
face.
queen, jack. A lot of these hands
I mean, these are gonna
call.
call any size, but they're gonna have pocket fours and things
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah, maybe. That's true. That's a good point. Yeah.
Now I'm probably just check raising turn, so we don't make that much against pocket fours, but we get one bet.
Yeah. Yeah. The question is as well, like, how good are they at slow playing against that? Like another way you could see this is like I'm actually, in fact, I'll tell you why I like betting. I don't know if this is enough of a reason, but to like just always bet. I don't know if it's sufficient, but it might be. When you B10 or B20 the flop, they're going to do a very bad job of slow playing like ace 10. And therefore here they have ace 10 way less. And like the main hand you want to check raise against, it's a made hand here, is ace 10. So like that's one reason for maybe just
Sure.
betting the turn, because then you push them more towards like ace jack, ace queen.
You're saying you think they're gonna raise flop with it,
I think
right?
it. I think they're gonna raise flop with ace 10 against that sizing like very often. Yeah, like more often than they should. Like I'm sure they're meant to
Okay.
slow play ace 10 here a decent clip. I think it's hard to do that against the sizing. It's hard to want to do that.
How do we feel about the check line and then bomb the river on a clean card?
Yeah, fine.
I just mean from an EV sense in terms of how often we'd actually get paid.
I don't know. It's really hard to say. Honestly, I don't think it's great. Like it doesn't seem like the best value line. Like I just think, like if your opponent's an unknown in GG, like if they're maybe a reg but you don't know for sure, they're not clearly like a four tabling Austrian or Brazilian or something. You just run the risk that you're against like the passive nitty type who's pretty common, and then not betting the turn there when it's double flush draw, and you know they have all this ace X is just a bit of a travesty, honestly. So I think I just lean bet on turn.
Yeah, actually, what I realized is I think if it goes check and I get say the 6 of clubs, I'm just gonna check river, and I think they're gonna bet an ace too often on that
Or
line, and I
bluff.
just
Yeah.
check rip it or bluff.
Yeah, you miss out a bit against like getting heroed by like a 10 or something, but like how often is a 10 heroing you if you go huge anyway? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, not sure.
So we're going min bet, one BB, and half pot toolkit that you guys are going to be using if you get the new course when it comes out in November is going to be half pot or huge overbet or pot, depending on the texture, and you'll learn like which textures you're playing half pot on, which textures you're playing pot, which textures you're playing overbet. This one,
This is a fun one too.
yeah, this one, I think it's probably pot, like between those three, like if you're picking one. But this was a passive looking knit reg fish kind of player, so I just half potted as a pure custom sizing. I hate that term.
I would play two sizes on turn on this particular board, but
Yeah, but they can't
you
do
don't
that,
need to.
Justin. They don't have the they're not able to do that. They look
The
like
idea is the idea is they barely have any king 10, 10, 8. So if you have a set, you can just 2.5x and it's strong enough.
Yeah, it's a bit of an illusion that the ace uncaps them, right? Because the king 10 was already made on the flop. If this is queen jack 3 instead of queen jack 9, then it's more of a size down spot probably. But on queen jack 9, yeah, this is probably like overbet. Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah,
see it
well,
on some of these messier Broadway boards, especially the paired ones where you have a bunch of boats, but here I think it works similarly.
for what it's worth, in a spot where a fish gets uncapped and has a load of two pair now, and I have a load of straights, I would absolutely like 2.5x pot a straight here or 3x pot a straight here against the fish. I would go huge.
I'm pretty happy with just jacks too.
Yep. I'm only kidding, guys. I have lots of faith in you. I just like to insult you because what happens is that the guys that can't take it are like, "Arr!" in the comments, and then like they don't watch me anymore, and that's great. But yeah. There's a guy got really upset. They get really upset sometimes when I say like, all of you play 25 and L. I make a joke about it. Some people get really upset in the YouTube comments. It's quite funny.
I also think it's a great spot to bluff because there's going to be too much two pair and stuff raising flop.
Yep.
Yeah, they make some on the ace, but
They're kind of screwed
it's all
here.
right.
Yeah, they're kind of screwed when you play 1 BB on flop and they don't raise and then they're in that call node. They don't compute that they haven't raised. And therefore they would have raised all that good stuff. Like they don't make that connection and then they don't defend wide enough. They don't like recalibrate for whatever that would, require.
And they
Okay,
also probably raise stuff that's not pure raises, near pure.
sure. Yep, so like Jack 9 is going to get raised like way more than it should, for example, on flop.
I'm not even sure. I'm not even sure King 10 is a pure raise on flop. It
That's wild,
probably
isn't it?
isn't.
That's wild. I agree. Okay, River. Can we bet Regfish? Like tight Regfish sort of player. Just for the record, before we debate this, these players slow play. But also for the record, Villain's turn call was kind of instantaneous. These players slow play a lot. Like they will not raise two pair on the turn very often. So that's one thing. But then he called the turn very quickly as well.
I'm just gonna check. I think betting's a sizable deviation. I don't really see a great reason to here.
What about the snap turn call? Do you use timing a lot?
If you said it's a yeah, I do. But if you said it's a regfish, I think snap could definitely still be two pair.
Mm-hmm.
So
It was
or
Queen 10.
that, but
Happy birthday, Moist Flops. That's the end of my rather humdrum morning session hands. So we have some of your hands now, Justin, which will be much more fun. So I think we should move on to them.
sure, let's do it. I sent you some for today, and then there's still some of the batch from previously that we didn't finish going through.
I separated it out, so we'll
But
just go over today's ones.
yeah.
Start with some ignition hands.
I
'Cause it's always
picked
fun.
I tried to pick some less ridiculous hands. So we'll see how I did about that. But yeah, just even looking through spots like this, I think you can learn a lot. It's not all the really flashy hands.
So we squeeze.
It's just a heads up pot.
Why did I say
Not a squeeze,
squeeze? I meant 3-bet. I don't know why I said squeeze. Tell us about Justin. What part of the Carrot universe does he live in? He lives in the Sensei hand channel, appearing on stuff, generally giving people very good poker advice for free, and bridge sections of Carrot Corner.
Oh yeah, in bridge occasionally, but mostly just in the Sensei channel and the Discord. Now here on Fridays.
Yep. I definitely recommend posting a hand in Justin's channel. He's always very thorough as well with the review. Whereas like remember when Akshar had a channel and he would take up like 28 lines to give a response. Those were the good old days.
They're pretty good 28 lines though.
Yeah, true. So we go for B40 here. Is that what this is?
Yeah.
Talk me through. I hate B40. It's like an ugly sizing to me, but only in the way that's subjective, where like I also hate the color rose. Same thing.
That's funny because I didn't used to use 40% until more recently, and I've started to actually develop a bit of a liking for
Is
it.
it
But
because Ruse is obsessed with it? Is that why?
you know, you're you're kind of right in that sense. It picks B40 a lot, but I think that's because the base tree sizes it gives, I think, are 25, 40, 67 or something like that.
Right, okay. So it kind of has to.
But in this spot, usually after three betting the big, especially big blind versus button, where the three betting range is really trashy, you kind of want to play more polar sizes. But I think on a board in like this in particular, we can probably just play a high frequency bet,
Mhm.
not for a tiny size. I guess you could go 20, but yeah, this is just what I did. I not super studied
Yeah, I think you
big
can
blind
go
polar
20
three
here if you
bets. I
want.
need to review it.
Like when you go 20, it creates this game tree where underpairs are still indifferent. Like the worst underpairs are indifferent, and then like ace 5 and ace 7 and stuff still indifferent. And if villain has like a gutter plus, they won't really fold the flop to B40 either. So if anything, B20 is like a little bit trickier, I think, for them. But I don't really have a problem
Yeah,
with this.
they kind of just do different things to the pocket pair region, I think,
Yeah,
mostly
yeah, absolutely. That's the
in terms
sensitive
of
region.
like they're supposed to slightly fold more to 40, obviously,
Hmm.
but the hands that are indifferent to 20 are probably also for the most part indifferent to this.
Yep, yep.
Unless you're talking about, I don't know, fours, no suits or something that probably has to fold.
Uh-huh. Is this
So
allowed?
I wasn't betting range. Is this allowed? That's what I was trying to figure out after I looked at this hand, and yeah, it could be bad.
I feel like it's not allowed, but I'm always constantly surprised by like the unblocker randomly bluffing turn. I will say that it's way less of a thing out of position though, generally. Let's ask the solver. So
Yeah, and I wasn't going range on flop for 40, but if you wanted to play 20% range, that's probably reasonable. Even though if you're playing a polar strategy from the big blind, I would not recommend range betting a whole lot. But I
yeah,
think this is one of the exception boards.
yeah, it's a very, very good board for you, for sure. Like King X, Jack X bluffs to go with the linear stuff that just likes it. King, Deuce, Jack.
Yeah, and my thought when you go to the jack turn is that it's not going to be, it's obviously not a great turn, but I think it's not completely awful given our size and the way we approach flop and how wide they have to continue.
Strategy plus EV. It went B40, surprise, surprise. So it's basically your sizing. Jack of something, spades.
Spades, yeah. I think I remember seeing this as allowed, but I wasn't sure at the time.
Says not allowed.
Never mind. Was 6-5?
Says
Okay.
Solver
This size is big
says
though.
that is a big size. What was your turn sizing? Half?
I think 40 again.
I wonder if it's worth building 40 here. Like, I feel like you just don't want to bet anything other than good king for value, so maybe you just want to size up. Like, I don't think the jack's like as relevant as it seems. Although I B20 flops, so I'm used to them just like their jack being more heavily diluted by the other regions, maybe.
Yeah, I was kind of sizing down because of the jack, but I think everything I said kind of prior to that is in the contrary. So I should go bigger on turn than what I did. Okay,
Yeah.
it's still bad.
So heuristic here is just like, in theory, we have to give up the bottom out of position, but we can often bet zero equity on blockers in position. Like, they're very positionally sensitive, and for good reason. When you're out of position, in position is going to exceed MDF, and when you're in position, out of position isn't. So therefore, a hand that's dead isn't so good to bet with. It's actually minus EV to bet with. You can see here because the fold equity that you get against in position is lower, and in position needs to make you indifferent, right? And to do that, they have to
Yep.
exceed MDF. Because if they were just meeting MDF exactly, you'd be plus EV betting 6-5. It'd be plus EV betting an airball that can sometimes bail into a 6 in the river and win. So not that they should let you win that often, but it will sometimes. So yeah, it's positionally very, very sensitive spot.
Yeah. I usually wouldn't bet a hand like this. I just thought it might be allowed on this particular texture.
I think
I
if
think
we've
we might get an
B
overfold, but anyway.
if we've yeah, I think we might well do. If we've B20 the flop, I actually kind of like this now because I think we're just going to get a big overfold. The more pocket pair we drag to this node, like the better it's going to be. That's why I like B20. It just is so much harder for villain to like survive later in the game tree, and I think we have more scope for edge if we become an expert at B20 than we do against B33. Or with B33, I should say, because partially, like, one partial reason for that is people just know what they're doing more in those game trees. They've looked at, like, if you ask a reg, like, what game trees have you studied in 3-bet pot, they'll say, oh, I've looked at button small blind. And if you say, well, what was the flop size you studied when you looked at turn defense? They'll say B33. And then you say, well, have you ever studied B20 turn defense? No. So it's like, well, that's different. And you don't know how it's different. So you're playing as if it was a B33 on the flop on the turn, so you're overfolding.
Yeah, because you could probably look at B20 on this flop and you have to make some gross looking calls.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like, if we go back to the flop here and we plug in the carrot strategy, I almost called the course the carrot strategy. And my wife was like, don't do that, you pig-headed moron. Like, give it a name that the public can relate to. And I was like, thanks, honey. Didn't actually say
But
that.
they probably can't fold a pair, and then I don't know, the threshold is gonna be some bad diamond hands.
Oh,
We're the big blind.
I
But
thought I pressed bet there, and I was like, he never folds, but no. He folds 16%. He can fold a pair, but only like mixing fives.
it's really
no club.
close.
10-8 of diamonds. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is.
I guess on this board it's more intuitive because it's a double Broadway and they just have a bunch of gutters and
I
pairs. So they
love
just call
B20
out,
on this board. Yeah, it's really good, isn't it? Okay, cool.
but...
Anyway, I'll stop.
I think on this board it's pretty easy to defend.
I don't think it is,
against
because I think
B20.
people fold under pairs more than this.
Maybe, yeah.
I don't know. Well, I mean, okay. Like, yeah, there are boards where it's harder to defend against B20 than this, but I still think it's, if it's, well, let me throw this back at you then. I agree partially with what you said, but then again, are we not just kicking the can down the road? Are we not just then gonna, like, have a turn spot where they struggle? Like, if they don't struggle on flop, they struggle more on turn, right? Because they take too wide of a range there.
Sure, yeah. I think regardless of what size you pick, as long as you don't start going huge, the difficult hand for them to navigate is going to be the underpair region. Kind of
Yep.
regardless of whether you pick 20 or 33 or 40 or 50.
Yep. So this is very clearly a Justin hand now. This is exactly what I'd expect to happen in one of your hand histories. Like, the river runs out some bizarre anomaly thing.
We're looking at wizard.
Oh, my bad, guys. Look at that river. How good is this, like, Scottish sky backdrop, by the way? It's fucking lovely. This is what the sky looks like in my country all the time. Apart from today, which is lovely. And, like, actually this whole month has been lovely.
What I was trying to figure out on river is whether we want to bluff this or high cards. I think that's the main consideration.
What about block? I mean, I know it doesn't really make much sense from, like, a theory point of view, but what about, like, I don't know how good your pool is, like how strong they are, but, like, can you ask them to fold ace 10 of clubs to block? Like, I don't know, queen 10, ace 10, low club that you unblock. Like, if they overfold their underpair region on turn, I'm a little unsure about river fold equity here against stuff that wouldn't fold to a smaller bet anyway, so I'm toying with the idea of, like, something exploit here. Don't know.
I didn't think about block at all, but yeah, that's interesting.
It's definitely, like, a weird, like, it should be kind of obvious that you're just bluffing like a good player, so you have to be kind of careful with that. But against a weaker player, this is a mission, so I wouldn't do
It's
it
zone.
against
I
the
don't know
reg.
who this is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I was thinking they would have stuff like ace queen, queen 10
Yep.
on river, so we want to bluff low cards instead, and
Yep.
I
like
assume sixes and fives are going to fold turn.
I like it. You unblock
So
the
if like
folding range.
9-8 is probably a pretty bad bluff, but
Yeah,
6-5 seems
I
better.
like it. I think this is a good combo.
Even 9-8 might be fine, but
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, I think the trap people fall into here is the psychological, like, oh no, like, of course he had a king. I should have known, like, I'm an idiot. I just spewed. But, like, as long as villain can have queen 10 and busted flush draws and the odd underpair, I think it's reasonable. I am a bit concerned that, like, the underpair is going to overfold on the turn. And therefore, like, maybe this just underperforms. Like, I'm a little worried this underperforms, and therefore we should just give up. I do think it's the right theoretical choice for sure.
what's our sizing river? Is it 70% or something? I can't see the stack super clearly.
Let's see. So we change you back to B35ing flop, B38, whatever.
So villain, it's 56 into 84. So yeah, we don't need a ton of fold equity. I think it's okay, but
Mm. Well, that's the thing as well, yeah. We kind of want it to work, and because we want it to work, we're like, does it work more than it doesn't? But that's, of course, not what we're asking. To give it your turn size.
I mean, I think this was not a particularly well played hand, but I thought I had an idea on the turn and it was not right.
Yeah, so it's the right hand to bluff with.
There is some block,
That's
but it's
crazy.
blocking a king. Oh, I thought about queens.
I bet he has to call a lot of miss flush draw. He has to call like so much ace queen. Yeah, block's got to be the highest EV here.
Makes
Yes,
sense. Ace four.
I feel pretty strongly about block being by far the best line now.
Yeah. Oh, but your sim SPR is different because the 3-bet pre is bigger.
It
But
is a bit,
in
but
any way, it
point should
works.
still stand. Yeah, point should hold.
Yeah.
What happened to my golf career? My son. He doesn't let me play golf. He's like, nah, I want to sit and watch Miss Rachel. You can't play golf. He loves Miss Rachel. Miss Rachel's the only thing that can keep him like satisfied by the TV for like more than 5 minutes. RIP golf. Yeah, we'll get back to when we're older and even less able to learn the game. I mean, I already find it impossible as it is. Do you play golf, Justin, or have I made that up?
I well, I used to play golf a lot throughout high school and early college. I don't play that much nowadays, but yeah, I played competitively for a while.
I thought I knew that about you. I don't know why. I just sort of had that memory there. Maybe we talked about it like years ago or something. I don't know.
God, I read HCP in the chat as high card points. That's bad.
Me too. Me too. My high card points with tens. I'd say this is like a in these positions, like under the gun, ISOing, I would say we have like a decent 15 to poor 16 count with this hand. That's what you meant, silly syntax, right? You're asking me what it's worth in bridge on a high card point scale, but to translate it to poker. That's what you're asking me, right? What is HCP?
Handicap, right?
Oh, we were talking about golf. I don't have a handicap. I'm just like a guy that tried to take it up and failed. Justin, what's your handicap?
I actually never got an official handicap, but I think when I was playing my best, I was right around scratch.
Wow,
Probably not that, probably like a 2, but
that's amazing. Like I can't even imagine what that would feel like. It must be so fun when you're that good at it.
yeah, it's not like I was near the best player in any of the tournaments though, so
Yeah, no, but
I
you
think
don't
at
need
best
to.
I could have played in some of some of the smaller colleges on a golf scholarship if I wanted to, but I didn't really want to go that route.
Fair enough.
How do you handle this pre-flop spot also?
Um, I I don't actually hate folding that much. Like, I don't know, I think it's really close to zero already. Like, it's just really bad when this guy gets out of the way. If he calls, like, we're just happy. But here, I think, like, I don't think 4-betting's good anymore at this SPR. I think 4-betting's good or possible at a higher SPR. And, like, the guy just, like, oh, wait, do we have position? Why did I think he was button? I'm never folding, I'm just calling. If it was button or something, I'd be like, yeah. But yeah, I'm just calling.
I think one of the things here you don't realize, or it might be easy to not realize, is our price is quite
It's
good
very
given we've
good.
made it 4.
It's very good, yeah. Yeah, definitely calling. Not,
And this raise isn't that much bigger than a usual 3-bet.
yep. Call flop. You do have the option of like saying you don't protect your checking range, mate. You don't have kings, or you have kings and queens all the time. I bluff you off your range. You do have the option of like going some exploit bomb here in the right spot against the right player. I'm just trying to think who I'd need my opponent to be to do that, and I think you just need to be like a net reg, fish reg type player, and then I think I'm going to do that. But otherwise, check. Yep. You also unblock the flush draws, so a net reg will call you with king, queen of spades in the spot instead of shoving. So against the net reg, it probably works quite well.
Yeah. don't remember who this villain was. I think I didn't have a whole lot of hands. It's Ignition. I'm just gonna assume I don't know anything about them.
Yeah, so you have to be really quite careful here in theory, because like you get here with quite a lot of lower pairs than this. And obviously sevens is a bluff before tens is a bluff, right? But that
I
said,
think, and I think the tens are kind of poor.
I think they're poor as well. They're blocking Jack 10, King 10, like all of this stuff. I agree. So I think this is a check, a theory check for sure. I quite like shove in real life, honestly. Like, what's that asking for? 66. I think you have like sub 10% showdown here, maybe sub 5% showdown here. Like, you beat nines, and that's about it. Probably sub 5%, honestly. So I'm contemplating going all in. Because, like, how often are they going to have, like, as a pure exploit line against a weaker player? All in is probably right. Again, if my opponent was the net reg, I'm not showing down tens here. Like, I'm finding a way to win this hand. But against a good player, like, you're just going to be overdoing it. If you do have a meta where they think you can bluff here, you're just going to overdo it if you use this combo, I think.
Yeah, just an unknown reg over 60 hands.
Yeah, it's interesting. Oh, wow. The
Yeah, we
one
got.
time. Is it Rude to ask what stakes? These
I
are 500 NL.
This one's 500 anyway.
Yeah, this next
They're
one
all around
is
there.
80k NL. And
Yep.
then the one after that's $4 million NL.
Yeah, the reason I thought that spot is interesting is because the run out's so bad we might not even be able to bluff. We might just have to give up some things completely. I don't know that it's that bad, but it's probably approaching there where we have to be very careful about what we bluff.
Agreed.
And if this can show down for anything, it's probably not supposed to
Oh,
bluff.
it's not meant to bluff. No, I think you bluff sevens. I think you mix bluff like sixes and sevens because you don't even get to do it pure, and then that's how behaved you have to be. Probably that'd be my guess. Man, I love theory. Like, 'cause when I study theory, I feel like I'm so good at poker. And when I talk with like Akshar or Sam, and they're like, "Oh, just MDA, mate, yeah," I like my brain rots away, and I can't understand poker anymore. Then I have to like study theory again just to like understand the game. Not that Sam and Akshar aren't good players, but they're exploit MDA driven players mostly. Whereas I feel like Justin's way more of a theory driven player that like uses exploits on top of that. And that's more naturally what I am. So I guess it's just less effort to do what you're naturally good at, guys, right? So like maybe style is a thing in poker. Like we all have our own style where we play our A game the most often and we want to be in that zone. And for me, it's definitely when I have a clear game plan, a theoretical outlook, and then exploits are just interwoven on top. It's not like some max exploit vacuum thinking, I do this all the time here type thing. But it depends on the
Yeah,
spot.
I think I just kind of grew up learning the game at the time where there's more theory available and everything like
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah. Both approaches
call
are
it
valid,
generational or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, both approaches are valid. It just depends what you're good at. Pete thinks every reg is an MDA player. Yeah, I think you are, mate. I
That's
think you
funny.
are. I do actually get very paranoid about the MDA guys, though. Sam, you coming on to say hello? I mean, if you've got the time to sit and chat to us here, you should probably come on the screen and we can argue about MDA. It's funny when you like call someone out, you're like, Sam's a fucking MDA guy, then he's just there in the chat, like, no, you.
I think it's cool the 9-8 hand is coming up after this because I want to say there are going to be some similarities.
I had this very hand this morning and I folded it because I had I had the aces hand going on the left hand table and I wanted to really focus on that. And then I had this hand. I was just like, I'm not gonna bother. But this is like break even, right? Slightly winning.
I want to say it's winning like some
Okay.
microscopic amount, yeah. But
I passed on it, and that's something you can do when you have multi-tabling stuff going on, and you're like, okay, well, a big mistake I see people make is they will roll a 3-bet with like 10-9 suited. Let's say, no, that's a bad example. Let's say Jack, what's a 3-bet or fold hand? King 6 off, right? Big blind versus small blind. And they'll roll a 3-bet and then
call that
3-bet
probably,
it,
but yeah.
like while in a 4-bet pot with a bluff candidate or something on another table. It's like, why
I'm
are
so
you
bad
doing
about that too.
It's so bad. It's so stupid because you're sacrificing so much EV by doing that repetitively. You can just pass on the spot.
as I've been playing more volume and upping the number of tables I play, yeah, I've started to realize that.
Yeah. The big problem with Sam Stockman, right? I'll tell you the big problem with him. I'm just kidding, Sam. He's like grinding away right now, just hearing his name, so I want to troll him. Okay, so double belly buster it is. Easy to miss these. The strategy in the new course is to use small raises and raise a lot and give him hell. On a board like this, you can't raise that much, but you can still raise sometimes, and obviously your hand can raise. I mean, like whatever. You're going for the bigger raise here, that makes sense. You're building around, you know, good queen and better. I'd build around something a bit lower and go for the small raise. I think both are valid approaches. And it's your truth, man. Whatever you want to do, that's your truth. You get to do that. Don't let anyone tell you can't do your truth.
Originally, I was going to go bigger too, but I think I settled on in position, blind v blind, wanting to have some thinner raises.
Yeah, so many things you can do here. Yeah, I agree with Colt against 3-bet. This is interesting. I guess this sizing makes sense on a board where like you don't have that many open-enders and stuff. You have some. Maybe this makes more sense on a board where your bluffs are even lower EV, like where it's like 7-3-3 rainbow. Maybe not that you would really 3-bet that. Okay, let's say 8-3 deuce rainbow. This would be a good sizing because then your bluffs are like really low EV mostly, apart from 4-5.
You mean villain size?
Yeah. I'm just trying to think
Yeah.
what texture's that good on, and I think it's something a bit less open-ender heavy than this, but I don't mind it here. But I think there's a few too many double belly busters and open-enders for me to want to use this 3-bet size here.
I think it's slightly small, but yeah.
Yeah,
That's about my reaction.
So we're going to have to bluff at some point now, it feels like, on this card. Because if you think about our raise call range on flop, it's very heavy in Jack 9, right? Like very, very heavy in Jack 9. And it has maybe some Ace Jack in it as well, but a bit less because Ace Jack would 3-bet in the suited variety pre, or it would check back flop more. But I think you can have Ace Jack on occasion. I think you have a lot of Jack 9. And this line I expect to be underprotected. Like, I'd be very surprised if this was protected. So my instinct here is just like play 8-9 like it's Jack 9 and just be done with it. But I don't know. Do I have to be careful
Probably
here?
not. Probably nut suits too. But
do you think I need to be at all careful here? Like, or can we just unleash every combo of 8-9?
I don't know what's going on.
Me neither,
But
but I'm trying to figure it out.
are they underprotected? I mean, maybe, but they're underprotected in the sense that they have a lot of hands that also look like good bluff catchers, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
I don't know what that's going to amount to.
It's definitely a note that I'm never going to include in a course because it's so rare. Like, it's not important.
And they see we can have a lot of Jack 9. They might anticipate that and check this.
So what's your value region here? Like, mostly still.
I was thinking King Jack King 9.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess King Queen also, but
yeah, it makes sense. I think you can also have, like, in theory, some slow play with this SPR on the turn as well, but maybe less perceived in practice. I mean, I like it.
Yeah, I don't know if we want to check Jack 9 on turn, but it wouldn't shock me.
I wouldn't do it. I think they're just so condensed and so like strong there. I'd just be betting. I'd just be like happy about life.
Sorry, I wasn't phrasing it properly. I'm just referring to what we would do in theory.
Okay. Wow.
But we have to give this up for 0 sometimes, is why this hand is interesting.
But why do we have to give up for 0? Because the king turn is also just really good for small blinds, 3-bet flop range?
I think it has to do with a few things. One, we're going to have 9-8, 9-7, 8-7, right? Yeah, they're going to bluff turn sometimes. I think our Jack 9 is mostly betting turn. And I think King Jack is just not here as commonly as it might look. Probably not a super eager flop raise. I think we
Yeah.
raise the lower stuff more often.
Yeah, for sure.
And this counterfeits some of our two pair. So we just it looks like we have an auto bluff, right? But I think the problem is we have a super limited value region, and that just
Yeah.
dwarfs.
Especially when villain goes so tiny on the flop, and then like our 7-8 might even be there or something. Okay, 7-8's a horrible gutter, maybe not that, but like we might have some gutter. Some single gutter.
Yeah,
And
but
then a lot
7-8
of that's a
backdoor
king.
probably has to call the flop through bet.
Yeah, so we do have a bit more air than normal. We're a bit starved of value. We do have sixes still. We don't have tens or queens on this node. Yeah, we don't actually have that much value, actually, on this line. So I can see why we could end up overbluffing. What do you think about villain's line on the flop with 10-8?
I think it looks okay.
Yeah.
I think it also looks like a bot.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's ignition,
That's-
home of the bots.
But
the action was
I mean, I think they played the hand well.
I mean,
Turn, I really don't know what's going on, but
the 8 is like the worst card they could have for bluff catching, surely. This is like the card you don't want to have as small blind, in theory.
yeah.
Interesting. Just small blind, big blind. God, it's so confusing. I hate games that run three-handed, like trying to figure what's going on here. Okay.
Yep.
BVB. Is this a fish, or did you know?
Don't know.
Mm-hmm. Think a lot of bet here. I would probably end up checking this in practice, but I do think that the queen is largely a brick for villain, or more of a brick than it seems. Like they shouldn't really have king 10. Oh wait, that's a double gutter. Hmm.
It is.
Maybe they can have a bit of king 10, but still, like, they have to call so many worse hands here, in theory, at this SPR. It's probably a theory shove. Queen Jack gets
That's
there.
what I did. Queen Jack, Queen 9.
Yeah.
And then whatever Queen 10, King 10 they have. But I don't think that can always call turn
Yeah.
or anything. It's
Yeah.
probably not super common.
Yeah, I think it's still a shove, in theory. I might end up checking for the reason that people are kind of bad at calling down on this texture with enough stuff. Like, how often do you have to call 10-9 on river, for example?
Don't know, but probably a decent bit.
So I might check back here. Against a net reg, I'm never going this thin. I'm just going to bluff. But against a good reg, I would. And against a fish, I would. Again, I'm just always like trying to map out for you guys what to do against these three broad player types, because they are the most important ones. The sort of more in tune, active, aggressive, higher stakes reg, a nittier, passive, lower stakes reg, and then like a fish. They aren't bluff catching enough in these spots, so jamming seems iffy. Yeah, I agree at lower stakes. I think at 500 NL it's fine. Or 200, this is probably fine at 200.
Stationary pull though.
Yeah, okay. We won against two random cards.
Jack 10.
Jack 10. Seems legit.
Seems exceedingly standard.
Yep.
But
seems like you both played it pretty well.
Our river shove is slightly too thin, but it's a minor loss.
Oh, really? It's too thin at equilibrium as well?
It's like -1 or -2 BB.
Okay, then I don't mind it against like the fishy player.
It's really close.
Yeah, I don't mind it against certain player types. Also, this could easily be perceived to be overbluffed. I mean, it's blind versus blind. It's a run out that you're going to attack a ton. It just feels like a more overbluff spot. So I don't think it's like that bad. I wouldn't end up doing it, but I don't think it's bad at all.
Yeah, I have suited 10x, offsuit ace x, king x, so I can definitely have bluffs. I don't know if they're going to anticipate me 3-betting polar or whatnot, but it is still blind end of the day.
Yeah, I think Spuds has nailed it. Surely a brilliant spot for bluffing, but underperforming in practice for value. I think that's exactly right.
Yeah, I don't know if I would shove river if I played this hand again, but I'm glad I thought about it, and kind of realize the queen is a semi brick.
Mhm.
Obviously not completely, but
Okay, should we have a look at some of your ACR hands?
sure.
Here there. That 1 KNL? Ooh, 1 KNL. Talk
There
us
was
about 1
one.
KNL. What's your experience there?
I only played because Fishy was streaming in the Discord, and I got into a couple spots.
Who was streaming?
Um, one of the Discord members is ex Fishy, I think.
Ah,
Sometime. I don't know too much about him, but he saw him playing.
so you were
He
stream
posted a
sniping
5
him.
KNL bomb pot hand. I was not stream sniping him. I joined
Nice.
after
You were
I
like
finished playing just let
lurking,
him.
muted yourself, like fucking sitting in a small pool.
Yeah, ACR has site volume issues. I mainly try to play 400, 600 when it runs, but sometimes those games just don't run a lot, and I'm willing to shot 1K
Hmm.
if I can't find anything else to do and if I'm feeling all right about it.
Hmm.
Because I don't really want to play 200 on ACR,
Stu's asking
and
if you play
200
with
runs consistently.
do you play with CG?
Yeah, I've played with them some. I've played a lot of this table. I feel like we have gotten in almost zero large pots.
Yeah. He's kind of scary
Only
guy because he
only a
plays
few.
like 13 flop sizes, so pretty scary. He's like a GTO wizard sim, but then with like 9 other sizes added to it.
This immediately gets stupid.
Yeah. Um. Any
Another
reads?
blind be blind spot where I three bet the button. Yeah, let me what up. Actually, a reg I hadn't seen much. Yeah, no, this is one of the only regs I don't have any reads on. So I'm playing
Yeah.
1K. Didn't see anything bad. Didn't see anything particularly that
It's a
stood out.
really good line. If you studied this and your opponent hasn't, this could be good. It strikes me as very, very weird on Jack 8 specifically. Like, it strikes me as, like, maybe just not a thing. But I don't know how bad it is. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, some people play small blind the answer chat, but yeah, CG does it because of course he does.
Yep. So you have to tell me what's going on here. I don't know.
Um, I guess starting from flop, I kind of thought this was similar to the King Jack Deuce flop you looked at earlier, where even though we three bet polar, this is a board that hits us pretty well. Our
Yep.
offsuit bluffs are going to hit this reasonably well. So I went with high frequency bet for 40. Can bet kind of an 8 or thinner probably. Yeah, versus the raise I didn't know, but I just kind of looked at the size and thought I'm going to have to defend versus this a lot and thought this would just be a mix. So I just three-way rolled this hand.
Mm.
I rolled some click, some call, some fold.
Hmm.
Not click. I'd probably go 35, 37 or something if I three bet.
Right. Okay.
But you
Yeah.
don't actually three bet shove on these rainbow
They're
boards
too dry.
usually.
Yeah, they're too polarized for button. Yep. Makes sense.
I think calling this is probably kind of bad. It's
I'd fold, but
the hand
then
is the hand is flimsier than I thought, but it
yeah.
just I was kind of paranoid about being attacked for the size. I don't know if
Yeah,
that's
I know what
fair.
you mean, but I think I'd just be like, right, if I come across this guy a lot or people who do this a lot, I'll look into it. But for now, this isn't what I would do. This is like me giving my like best version of myself out of game. In game, I'd be like, "Fuck you, man!" But like, if I was playing well, I'd probably be like, "I'm going to just fold because it looks kind of like a fold and it's close, and I have no idea what's going on in the rest of the game tree, and I just don't know what's happening, and I'm just not going to put myself through it." I think that'd be like the optimal way to be in this spot before you've like looked into it. Of course, if this is happening a lot to you in your pool because you're playing higher, you do need to look into it. But if you're playing like 50 NL and this happens, just fold and move on. You're not going to see that again for ages on that board. It's not a thing. Like, just don't care.
Yeah, I think part of it was I didn't appreciate that, for this being a three bet pot, even though I have backdoor and stuff, this is still a pretty awful hand. I have lots of other things that are easy-ish defense.
Hmm.
So even if I'm trying to play some sort of theory strategy, this doesn't really need to get in there. I looked at it and it's basically a zero EV call that pure folds. It's one of those.
Yep.
But
What the hell is happening? Why would you bring these hands? You did this to me a couple of weeks ago as well. You put me through the same
I'm
ordeal.
sorry. This is probably the most ridiculous one.
Yeah. So villain has still a very polar range here, I think. They still have a jack. They shouldn't have a lot of ace, but it's a thing they could have, but I don't care about that, really. I think I'd check. I mean, they just hope they bluff. I'd probably just check call. I don't know what else to do. I'm too confused to do anything else. I'm not betting. Like, I don't see what I'd be betting against. I don't understand. Definitely check. Unless we want to play some
I
small
almost,
bet and accuse them of like
I
having
almost did
nines and
that.
tens and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of thin, but
I mean, okay, B10 and
and we
check are
don't.
similar, right? Like,
Yeah, but we don't even have a kicker. If we have ace queen or ace
yeah, I
10,
like
then
it
we have
better
a
with
kicker.
ace king ace. Yeah, I agree. I think I checked this hand, but okay. As played, he's saying he's got a slow play. He's got an 8. He's got a jack.
Yep.
I don't know, man. I hate these spots because it's like such a leveling war now. It's like he knows that you know that this looks fucking weird and full of shit, right? So like the base instinct is like, I call because you're full of shit. But then like he kind of knows that this is like something you're expecting and something that's kind of full of it. So I don't know. I really don't know. I think it's
Yeah,
so
this is something you
open-ended.
appreciate more playing in non-anonymous pools, just coming from playing a bunch on Ignition prior.
Hmm.
Yeah, there's some level of shared knowledge you expect here where we both kind of know that the buttons line looks silly.
Yeah.
But I also don't think it's particularly hard to check back a jack on the turn. It seems pretty normal.
Hmm.
And it might get checked back too much, which is kind of a concern. I think I was just in the mental state that I was being messed with here, and I just called. I don't
Yeah.
necessarily think it's good. Also, the 5 is pretty bad if there is
Yeah.
any under pair.
I actually don't know that many regs are going to mess with you here because it just, I don't know, it depends what level they're on. Some are. Others are just going to be like, this guy won't fold if I go all in for pot. Like, I don't know. I think if I'm playing a game, I probably just prefer fold here, but I think I'd rather just check call the river because then you don't enter as much into like here you've actually told him that you have a value hand almost always with that sizing, right? That's your range. You basically said, by the way, I have an ace. And now he has to try and get you off an ace. But if you check, you can just have like nines. And he can try and get you off
Sure,
nines.
yeah,
So like I just way prefer check call against a human in these spots.
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I was worried about the 10% on river because I also realize it's just gonna look like what I have,
Yeah, exactly. And
which
then
is
it's
fine sometimes, but you have to be prepared to deal with it.
yeah, I'm not convinced he has that much of a calling range against this either. Like the way humans play, I don't know, just be like I haven't seen a lot of people just like shrug call tens here. It'll happen, I guess, but like
Well, they don't need to call tens. They need to call king queen and stuff, right?
yeah.
They just need to call board plays. I think because I'm gonna have some king queen, some 10-9 and stuff myself.
I
Queen
guess
10.
what I'm saying is I see a lot of cornered animals in this spot. Like I see people turn hands into bluffs instead of doing that. Which maybe is an
Agreed.
argument for calling, but then again, it's just so stupid in this spot that like I don't know. I think there's a pride thing here where a reg will like just fold a board play here instead of call just out of like not wanting to be B10'd as well. It's another thing. I don't know. I'm kind of getting into like lots of meta thoughts and stuff, though it's not so useful. I think check river. Okay.
That's mostly what this hand is. It's super out there.
Hmm. Flop over a bit. Call. Check turn. Yeah. Quite like betting the spot a lot, but I'm guessing you just roll the check this time and you're just playing a bit of
I
check.
was I was betting this hand 90% of the time.
Yeah. Might be pure with the 3 unblocker, right? And the queen and the
That's
flush
what I
draw.
was. Yeah, that's what I was worried about.
I just pure it because I'm not sure it's a mix. And if I don't know if something's a mix, if it's either 90 or an EV loss to check, I'm just going to bet it.
Sometimes it can be pure, but not an EV loss, though, right?
Sure. But if it's either an EV loss or high frequency or non EV loss pure, like if those are your three options, I'm still gonna bet. Like I don't think it changes it.
Yeah, betting's definitely not bad.
Yeah.
Could argue I should just do
Exactly.
that.
Like if one play could be a small mistake and one play can't be. Yeah.
This is just yeah, I mean, kind of getting fancy. The river is interesting. I'm trying to figure out what's happening,
It's hard
but
to
I
know.
just ended up checking.
I think what's happening is after your flop sizing, you're gonna land on river with like not very many straights. You're gonna land on river with some like 6-5, 5-4 type stuff as well, like 9-7, like this kind of thing. Ace-5, like a lot of stuff like that as well. Like I'm trying to work out one, like how much river blunder theorem this is, and two, like where the bottom of your how abundant the bottom of your range is. And I just feel like you do have quite a lot of combos of undercards here still. You don't really have pocket pair though, so you don't have that much air. But then like how much
I have some
10 do you
pocket pair.
you have some
Yeah,
pocket pair?
I think,
You have some like
but
like fives with a diamond, maybe like fours with a diamond.
I think a little bit. Yeah,
Okay.
it's button, so maybe not that much. But
Yeah,
I would think you overbet some small pocket pair with diamond.
maybe. We'll look at that when we go down the 2x pot route of the course. We'll study this more. So queen three then. I guess it's a check. Is villain meant to bluff like Jack 7 now? He has 8x as well.
I think maybe not always. So I was thinking this hand just checks for something, and I'm
Yeah.
gonna have probably enough air to bluff. So I was just gonna bluff just
Yeah.
my non-showdown and check this, but
Yeah. I mean, you have a lot of non-showdown, so I don't think betting this is right, but it's interesting.
I also just have an 8 that can bluff.
Yep, absolutely. Like we're really
Unclear whether
reaching
that's
like
good, but
deep into the exploitative waters when we bluff this hand, but we're kind of just saying they're really capped, they're going to overfold. Like, okay, if you're playing 25 and L, there might be a redlining exploit here where you just 2x pot. I mean, it's stupid. Or like 1.5x pot or 1.2x pot. I don't know, it's a dumb thing in theory, but like there's stuff you can do to like really cap micro stakes and low stakes players in these spots. So, but that's not what we're doing here at 600 NL.
yeah, they could even overfold to just a normal size
Sure.
too.
Yep. But then, is it by enough? They'll also fail to bluff their 8x, right? They won't be very good at that either. So you're going to show down for more in the check line against a bad player as well. I don't know what Ask Jeeves is. I was born this millennium. Yeah, it's I think it was like an old search engine with a butler guy on it. I agree, Nikita. I don't see a lot of call to B10 there either. I think it's a pride thing.
This is a reg who 3x's. They're not great, but they are a reg.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
Yeah, they also do this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't mind it. I don't know. My bandwidth for these really difficult hands at this point in the stream is beginning to get questionable. I'm not
I
sure.
think this is the last one, so
Okay.
we'll
So
be done with it.
let me try and empty the tank of working out what's going on then. So check raise. I'm guessing this is a thing sometimes. Check call seems like the most common thing against this size. It's probably like close to three-way indifferent actually.
Yeah, I think we can almost check fold.
Yeah.
We
And
probably
then
just can.
yeah, some amount of bet with this hand on turn feels good. And then river feels very bad for us, and we have to be super selective and careful. And this feels like, well, what is a bluff? Do we have a bluffing range? Do we like what is this like? Is SPR nothing? So yeah, check. Like I don't know. Stupid spot.
It might chop or something. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't mind the flop and turn in the river. I just don't want to think about it. I want the river to just not exist because I don't want to think about it. Bye.
Oh, there's one more.
Mm-hmm.
One more.
3-bet pot, BB versus cutoff. Big bet
These are
turn.
all big blind 3-bet pots. These are some of the
Yeah, it's so
the harder
weird.
spots.
This is such a weird line. This is something you just never see at lower stakes. You just don't see this unless it's a fish with a good hand. What we call right. I don't know what else we're possibly doing.
Shove is maybe not ridiculous, but yeah, we called.
Shove feels really weird.
It's just low SPR, but
Yeah.
it does feel weird.
Are you trying to meet MDF here, or are you trying to do something exploitative, like when you play 1KNL?
Um, I'm not trying to MDF all the spots really. If I'm extremely lost and I really have no idea, I might,
Hmm.
but usually I'll just try to take a guess.
Yeah. I mean, I
Yeah,
would
what
just.
worries me here is I think on these double flush draw textures, you're gonna check or you're gonna, I guess it's bet three, bet shove a
Mm.
bunch of your good stuff on turn. So you could see this being a spot where I arrive kind of weak and it's easy for them to attack, but at the same time,
But also,
I don't
like,
know if
with what, like,
that's being done intentionally.
what have they found here that's able to capitalize on that? Like, okay, if you drop them, if you airdrop them onto the river with like, 7/6, like in a parachute, like, yeah, I agree they're gonna follow through. But who the hell min clicks the turn with like a queen jack or king jack or something? Yeah, I just don't see it. I just feel this is underbluffed. I don't know. I feel really strongly that it's underbluffed, and therefore, if I run into that one guy that's owning me here, like, fine, I guess.
That's what I came to.
Yep.
But
Good. I like it. Okay, guys, we are gonna wrap this. I am gonna go make some food, get on with my day here. It's bridge teaching day now. Time to go and play rubber bridge with the kids. Fun times. Anything else you wanna, I don't know, promote, advertise, talk about to the chat, Justin?
not really. I'll just be around,
Yeah, man, it
keep on
was really
trying
fun.
to come on for some hand analysis. And if you wanted to do trainer stuff, that'd be fun.
Yeah, we could set up some trainer
But
stuff. I want to look at that for the course, do a bit of solver, a bit of trainer, a bit of hand review, a bit of PowerPoint, like all sorts of stuff. But thank you
you're
for hanging
mentioning the
out.
Delacey bit and the pro blinds, actually, the last couple times we met for study sessions,
We
we
need to do
looked
that.
at
Yeah.
just that.
That's going to be the first thing we look at in the course, because we're going to start with single raise pot, in position preflop raiser, and because we are playing like a really big sizing on the boards, we're not one big blinding. We're going to be playing a lot of turn nodes, and the good news is that people play that really badly, guys, so it's a good node to enter into. But we're going to be crafting like our defense strategies against block, against bigger probe, and against overbet probe, as well as the delayed c-bet opportunity nodes. So that's kind of my short list of what I really want to look at in the next Carrot Crunch, probably, and in the Carrot Lab as well. So if you're about for any of those, that would be I think, the subject matter, looking at that sort of stuff. Should I start like live streaming, playing again with a delay again, guys? Would you want to see that? Do you guys want to watch that? Like, how much do you want to watch that compared to what we're doing now? And this might be like where we're asking the people that have turned up to see this format. So it's just people that like this format that are here. It might be biased, but I wonder what you guys think. Maybe let me know as well in the chat just now. That'd be awesome. Thank you, Stuart Garments, A Cruel Game, Life Aquatic, Stephanie, Mathemagical, Takita, all of the regulars, and everyone else that participated today. And we'll be back
Yeah,
next week. Thanks, Justin. Take it easy, guys.
thanks. You too. Have a good one.